Good morning. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. And as I shared over the weekend and on Monday, when clients become friends and friends become family, welcome Shari Cedar to the guest host seat. Welcome aboard.
Woohoo! Thanks, guys. It is a honor and pleasure to be here, and I've got some big shoes to fill this morning.
That's cool. So you got to look at the inside of how we do the show, how we prepare. Met your expectation? You were surprised at anything? I know you're excited just from when I called you. So let the audience know what you're thinking.
Very impressive. I got a show rundown yesterday so I could prepare show notes. I like the time cues of what we're doing. Very good. You get an A+ for preparation for your pre-production, which is key to any successful
We
show
stick to
and
it for the
endeavor.
most part, but sometimes we get a little haywire.
So I'm glad. Yeah, and we're going to talk more about that and preparation. Couple of things to note. I had dinner last night with Andy Hill. You may remember Andy Hill from the Huddle. He's been in the Huddle. He's been in the hot seat. He's done all kinds of stuff. He is Mark's best friend, and we broke off, just he and I, and we called it a mastermind. We just sat down, had a meal, and talked through business and strategies. And, I'm a firm believer that iron sharpens iron. Walked out of there on fire. Lots of intros and lots of opportunities. So, great to spend time with him. Mark is in Tallahassee, as you know. Mark posted something this morning that I want to share, but let's wake this thing up. We got a full show. Shay, wake it up and let's go.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more about to thinking. Time for thinking ahead. Come on.
All right. We are back and we are here. I want to share a video that Mark did last night, and there's a zillion different concepts we're going to pull out of it. Shay, show me Kai, my grandson, climbing a rock wall.
You can do it. You can do it. And then sense to it. Take your right foot and put it right above the right hand up. Stand your right foot and put it right above your back. You can do it.
So obviously lots of,
What a cutie.
what a cutie. Lots of yelling and screaming there, but Mark posted this morning, and I wanted to share it with everybody because there's some very clear takeaways. Number one, it's okay to accept direction. When you have somebody over your shoulder, and I'll bring up a point, and then Shari, I want you to give me your thoughts. But you heard people, yelling, screaming, hey, 1 foot here. So accepting direction, good or bad?
In certain cases, very good, because you don't have eyes in back of your head and you have to trust, right? So if you're looking at something, it's almost like your car has the backup camera. You trust it. So I would say in this situation, you trust.
So I love that, because the point number 2 that he makes is that it's all about trust in the communicator. So if you don't have trust and faith and all of those things in who's communicating, doesn't matter what they're saying, you're not going to buy it. Just not.
Oh, totally. If there's someone behind me who I think is a bozo and, had 6 beers before they're guiding me, I'm not trusting them.
Now you speak from experience because those that don't know you, you're like a daredevil. You do all kinds of crazy stunts and stuff like that. The picture that we wound up putting on your LinkedIn is of you doing some kind of maniac thing across a big what do they call that?
I was zip lining
Zip
somewhere in
lining.
Mexico,
Right.
but I would say my biggest trust was in New Zealand. One of them, right? I was 230 feet in the air, in a ravine bungee jumping, and all of a sudden, like some dudes put a bungee cord around your leg, and they go, "Okay, we're going to count you down, and you have to jump, and you have to assume that, they tied it correctly."
Thank you, Shay, 'cause that is completely out of scope for me. My my zip lining history is not good. It was we were in Costa Rica and went to the top of some ridiculous mountain, and I actually climbed back down. I did not go, man. I was like, sorry guys, can't do it. Just so the last thing I want to talk about on that particular thing is Kai was asked to do it blindfold. And so you can't do it without support from the group. So if you didn't notice, he was blindfolded, and each of those steps was driven by the group. And if you're in a company and you are willing to, and they call it blind faith, I thought it was such a great example. And for Kai, we are building those experiences where we let him do, experience the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat because it's the only way you learn. So,
When you said that, though, immediately I was like, "Oh, we should take our management team to do that. That will build some bonds. You'll also see the gaps and where there is no trust and what you need to work on. That would be a very cool exercise to do."
you just validated the exact reason why I asked you to be in that seat because that is an absolute perfect bridge to taking something that's happening in front of you and applying it to your own business and saying, wow, this is an exercise that would really, really be fun, would be, tremendous learning and would expose gaps. And when you actually do that, for people, they see it. It's not you telling them, hey, I see a gap. Telling them is bullshit. Seeing it and knowing it and living it. Christine works
I
with
know.
you. So
All right,
she's in.
Christine, get ready. Get ready. We're going to
It's
go to
very
Project Rock and blindfold everybody on the management team. We'll sign some waivers and we're going to climb.
awesome. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you. That was great
Okay.
content. Throw a curveball at you. Shay, show me the post that Shari did the other day. So you're recently on Claim Your Potential, where you talked about many different things, but you understood the parallel between your previous career in television and running a commercial cleaning company. And I am curious for you to unpack that for us. Mark talks about all the things he learned from being a coach and how he applied that to our business. Unpack that for people if you can. Give us the foundation of that conversation.
Curveball.
Boom.
Boom. All right. So basically in television, I divide everything, I compartmentalize into 3 buckets, right? There's pre-production, production, and post-production. And pre-production is like preparation, planning. You really got to put most of your time in there. Production is when it's happening, and then post is finishing the show, like getting it ready for air and completing things. So when I first made the transition into commercial cleaning, I was like, there's no parallels. Like it's so out of my comfort zone. But the more I got in and I realized I had this underlying skill set, I was like, wow, this is so cool because I can pretty much guarantee there are very few TV producers who made this switch. So I can take this knowledge, pre-production, getting your team ready, getting everything organized, production, when you go out to do a job, you having the right equipment, doing it correctly. Post is then, how you follow up, how you plan for the next. And then that grew and grew and grew. And it just made sense to me.
So it's interesting because when you got on and I asked you about your experience with being part of the huddle, you said you were impressed with the preparation. I
Yes.
can promise you, no matter what you do in life, if you spend the right amount of time preparing for it, the outcomes are better. They're different. The whole thing is in preparation. Even if you're in sales, what is your preparation? Your preparation is research. You just can't show up and throw up. And so I love that you drew
Oh,
these parallels, because you can basically take any career, line it up to something else. And what you said in your post, which was so great, building confidence, building something new, building a brand. There's a lot of people who still don't even know what a brand is. And
oh,
you're talking about it, which is great.
well, the very cool thing, I think the thing that was most exciting for me is finding creativity in business, because we are doing more than creating clean and healthy spaces for businesses, which is very important. But when you're building a company culture, you're building a brand, you're building your philosophy, you're building a team, like there's a lot of creativity in it. And to me, that's the fun part.
So it's so great because you can basically choose to do that in any career.
Oh
You can
yeah.
take what's already been done. And if you say to people, hey, I'm in the cleaning business, what could be creative about that? What's exciting about that? You can make any business exciting if you choose to do that, and that's where you fall in love and you start being engaged in a way that it hits a lot of internal buttons. So I'm going to ask you, knowing the answer though, but you've satisfied that creative itch that drove you in the television business. You've now satisfied that within the cleaning business, but more importantly, that's what shows up to people. I think when people meet you, and we were with you Saturday night, and you and your husband, bright, smiling, you don't walk around with your head down. Oh, we want to, you're very engaged, very involved in the community. That's a choice.
It is a choice. And I think in anything you do, you have to be passionate about it and you have to love it. And it has to resonate with you. And when you genuinely care about what you do, the people you work with, and the product or service, whatever you're doing, if you fully embrace it, that shows to people. I mean, who wants to work with people who are like,
But they do. People show up and just don't show any nothing on the screen, as Mark talks about. So I love that. Mark actually shared, he can't be on the huddle, but prepared to take advantage of the opportunity when it arises. That's another form of preparation, keeping your eyes open to what's available. I use this analogy with my clients a lot. I said, if you're spending your time looking in the back seat of the car or the back seat of the bus, which is a good analogy, you're missing everything that's happening in front of you. The job of a leader is to trust in their people to do what they're supposed to do, so that you could pay attention to the road in front of you and take the right exits and entrances. And, when I say that to people, they go, wow, I never thought about that, because looking in the back seat is babysitting. And a lot of
right.
people think that's what leadership is. It's not.
Well, I want to add to that. So when you do, you have a roadmap, we'll go with that. You're on the highway and it says take exit 42 or whatever exit it is. But you as a leader have to also have the mindset, and pregame allows you to do this. You know what? Exit 43 looks better. And I see it now clearly. So you have to be able to pivot. And if you have the preparation and you're fully aware of what's going on, when you see opportunity, then you're ready to go for it and take advantage, as Mark said. You can't do that if you're just trying to stay in the present. If you're prepared enough, you're looking ahead when you see the opportunity present itself.
I had this conversation with Rich McMahon yesterday, and being decisive is part of being a leader, is making a move. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, because if it's wrong, you can adjust. But people need to have confidence in you that you will take the move. Some people just wait and overanalyze and stuff like that. So
Indecision causes, I'm going to say, indecision causes accidents.
Bingo. And that's something you could put on a chalkboard and say, because I used to say to my people, make a decision. That's how Shay and I started working together. I go, make a decision. It'll either be right or wrong, and we'll be happy with it or we'll learn from it. But make the decision. Don't leave shit hanging, because the longer it hangs, the worse it is. So awesome conversation. I knew it would be. I just want to bring up another conversation about a gentleman that I don't think people know. Do you know who Charles Feeney is?
I don't.
I'll give it a second for the huddle. And please, if Jim Barrett's here, do not Google it, because that's easy. Charles Feeney just recently died earlier this week. He died at the age of 92. And this gentleman, anybody, Mr. Feeney, he donated his entire $8 billion fortune. He was the leader of duty-free shops, which we all know in airports and on cruise ships and some international flights where they sell things. So he is now being talked about because he did it anonymously. He donated all of the $8 billion minus $2 million that he chose to live on, and he got a very modest 2-bedroom apartment, takes mass transit. And so I ask you to research this human being, because if you do, this is true leadership. This is a guy who said the world is fucked up and I'm going to give my money to places, because he came to the realization that his money wasn't working the way it wanted to. I want you to look yourself in the mirror, and with all that's happening in the world right now, if you are not doing anything for philanthropy, shame on you. Shame on you. And you and I talked about it before we got on the huddle.
Absolutely. And my dad always says, you can't take it with you. And my dad always says the smile on someone's face when you give is worth so much more than the dollar you gave. So it is just incredibly important to do that. What an incredible man.
I mean, you and I were at charity events that I didn't really know that much about the organization. And now it's as of yesterday, Melanie is a client, and we are doing that work to help her on that mission, because it was something she said. She said, I help these people and I can't walk in my front door and turn it off. It's with me. It lives with me. And so, there are those people who have dedicated themselves to doing, and it's so easy for somebody to be homeless or to not have meals. So anyway, great stuff. Speaking of great stuff, if you're not aware, in Vegas, they opened up a place called the Sphere. It's a spectacular structure. They now have the flag of Israel draping it, which is really super cool. And the house act for the next month or two is U2. And here's a great social responsibility.
In the light of what's happened in Israel and Gaza, a song about non-violence seems somewhat ridiculous, even laughable, but our prayers have always been for peace and for non-violence. So, but our hearts and our anger, you know what that's pointed. So sing with us. And those beautiful kids at that music festival. Early morning, October 7th, as the sun is rising in the desert sky, stars of David, they took your life, but they could not take your pride. Could not take your pride. Could not take your pride. Could not take in the name of
love. Look it up on YouTube. It's spectacular. I was crying listening to it, almost in tears again. It's, to sing about it. And that is one of the most socially conscious bands ever. They're out in front of it because there are no sides on this thing. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, to keep it lighter, if I can, I want Gary V to share his conversation on culture, and then I want Shari to respond and talk about it as it relates to her and her company.
The number one way to build a great culture is to spend one-on-one time with your employees. And here's a key part of the sentence. Make them feel safe to tell you the truth of what's going well and what's not, and for you to figure out what makes them tick. Here's how. Everybody here, me included, who's obsessed with what I'm about to say, everyone here wastes multiple hours every day on dumb shit. If you at your level analyze your 1-hour meetings, make a bunch of them 30, you've just created 2 15-minute slots to check in and shoot the shit and really get to know those 50. That tactic, time allocation to make them feel safe to tell the truth. You just want to make them feel safe to tell you the truth of what their ambitions are, what makes them tick. You have to be prepared for that to change. A 25-year-old might want money, but at 32, 7 years from now, they might want work-life balance because they just had their first child. So that's the framework you need to create.
So Shari, share with us how many employees you have.
Over 700.
700 people that you are responsible, you and your husband and your leadership team are responsible for their day to day. It's
Yes.
a big, big responsibility. And people throw the word culture around and don't really get in the roll up your sleeves and do it. Share your thoughts, if you will.
When I think many years ago when you said company culture, I thought, oh, that's a buzzword. It
Right.
doesn't really mean anything. Company culture, but at AK Building Services, company culture has become one of my top priorities for many reasons. People spend a lot of time at work. They spend more time with your colleagues than you do with your family. And people have to be happy. People need to enjoy where they are. And that, that trickles down into how they work together and how they service a customer. And so company culture is super important. Now, there's so much to unpack from that video. My head is like spinning.
Yeah.
Where do I start, right? I mean,
So hold on one second. It's an honor that the first time you're in this seat, we're going to overtime. Shade you.
And we'll go to overtime.
You did it. We took it to overtime.
Okay,
Continue
that is an honor. So I'll get to it quickly then. But for me, company culture really boils down to everybody has to feel respected. They have to feel heard, and they're human. So I don't care if you're, whether you're your highest management level or you're part of our team members who's cleaning a toilet, right? Everybody's a human and needs to feel connected to something greater and have pride in what they do. And that is key.
I love that. Tony Levine, who was Mark's friend that was in college football and, runs his own Chick-fil-A now, talked about leaders. It is an absolute must that they know everybody's name.
Everybody.
140 people, a little bit more difficult when you get to 700 to know everybody's name. But the reality is, and this is what my takeaway was, how you use your time is so efficient in any culture. So if you say, I'm going to spend less time doing dumb shit and do our time blocking, he did it right there for me, man. He took an hour, baked it into a half, grabbed 2 15-minute things that he's going to use, a 15-minute virtual coffee with people who you make their day. Hey, I'm reaching out to you. I want to spend 15 minutes with you so that we could get to know each other. And whatever they tell you, they live with that for the whole year. I had my time with the CEO or the owner or the founder. It's so impactful, yet so easy, yet no one does it.
Well, I always, I've worked for bosses in the past where they call me up and they're like, hi, do this, bye. It's all business. I do not do that. When somebody calls me, hey, how are you? How are your kids? How was your holiday? Like, take a moment and a breath to be a human first and then get to the work. That's how we do it. And Mark and I do our best to get to as many customer sites at night when we can during the day. Hey, I'm Shari. I'm Mark. shake their hand, take a picture with them. And I say, thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Wow,
We
incredible.
really appreciate it.
Leadership
Goes a
by
long way.
example. And I see you planted somebody in the audience who could say nice things about you, which is pretty cool. Very, very nice. Christina, thank
Oh,
you
Christina,
for
thank
sharing
you.
that. We all feel the same. Shari, you did an amazing, amazing job. There's already been calls to have you back. Can we
Thank
have
you.
your word that you'll come back when asked?
You absolutely have my word.
So you are officially in the bullpen. Great job. Thanks for spending your morning with us. Thank you for sharing you and your perspective. You are truly on the ball. And now it is time to get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business.